from there on moved on to uh, uh, founding Jubian Ventures, where we work with startups to sort of assess the business viability, investment readiness, and take things from there. So that's my quick intro. And the way we want to structure this session, I'm assuming Vashishthā, you would
Yeah,
be the one talking? Yeah, okay. So the way we want to structure the session is take about 10-15 minutes to talk about the startups, take us to the pitch, and then I would give you my inputs in terms of how an investor is potentially going to look at this, and then we can take any questions that might be there. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
I'll just check sharing my screen here. Um, I think the screen sharing is disabled for me.
Yeah, I'm just checking once. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's there now.
Is there? Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be there. Yeah, I enabled it.
Okay.
First, we were able to see the screen for a brief moment and then it went away. Can you?
Yeah, actually, I was trying to share as the presentation. I typically use Microsoft Suite. So in Teams, I can do that. But here, I think I'm unable to.
No, you just like open, share the screen again and then just click on, present. It's fine. Let's get started.
Surely. Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, today I would like to present CxDNS. CxDNS is basically a DNS security solution that we are developing at Shivkara. So how it has all started is when the advent of TCP/IP protocol for the networking, what happened was initially all the communication had to happen via IP addresses. So if host A has to send some data to host B, it would have to mention their IP address and then send some data to the host. Okay. Now, as the internet expanded, it got impossible for humans to be able to remember all these IP addresses for different hosts. Right. So what came in was the advent of domain name system, where you would be able to pass in a domain name and it would be able to give you the IP address. So instead of going to 156.1.1.1, you would then be going to something like foobar.com, and the DNS server will be doing the translation into the exact location of the server for you. Now, how this works and why this is effective is it works very similar to the postal system that we have. So what tends to happen is, say, for example, just like a postal system, if you were to send a parcel from here to, say, Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi. So how it would work is, first there would be the city that would be matching. So the parcel will be first sent to the city. Okay. Then in the Delhi city, it will be distributed to the nearest, whatever warehouse they may have, and then it will be distributed exactly to the end address. So similarly, what happens is when you make a DNS query, the resolver will first ask the root DNS server, say for example, where .com server is. Okay, then the .com server will be invoked and the .com server will be asked where example.com is. So then the example.com server will be giving the final IP address for the user to be able to reach this particular internet service. Now, the risk here is that this authoritative DNS server can be set up by anyone, anywhere in the world. Okay, so I could say, for example, purchase example.com, and now wherever I would want the DNS resolver to be pointing, I can do that. Now, this is where all the threats arise. So what happened was we started to incorporate some traditional security measures where we would be able to tell that these are whitelisted domains, these are blacklisted domains. Okay. So simply allowing or blocking these kind of domains, the malicious domains in them, we would be able to secure our perimeters against these kind of DNS based threats. But what started to happen was these DNS threats evolved. And in the latest times, they have evolved to a complexity that traditional measures can no longer handle. So what tends to happen is in a DNS based attack, the DNS query, the request and the response cycle is acting as a covert communication channel between the attacker and the victim. Okay. So what tends to happen is all this data that is being exchanged between the victim and the attacker is not seen anywhere on the network. So say, for example, we talk about firewalls. So in firewalls, network layer firewalls, typically, what tends to happen is for DNS, the port 53 for the DNS queries is typically just allowed and there is no visibility onto it. So you will never know where the DNS queries are going, who they are reaching, which server it is, who is sitting on the other end, you will know nothing. Okay. So that is one. Secondly, what tends to happen is there is something called DNS tunneling. So what happens is the covert communication between the victim and the attacker can be used by an insider to send data outside. Not just that, it could be a remote access Trojan that is in your environment and wants to send data outside. It will be going through your firewall and you will not even be able to recognize that this data exchange ever took place. Okay. Not just that, secondly, there is something called zero-day domain abuse. So in zero-day domain abuse, what happens is at the last second, the attacker will change the DNS. Now, why this happens is, as I told you, the traditional security measures, how they work is, since there are so many websites out there, they have a web categorization engine inbuilt with them. So this web categorization engine, what it can do is, it can typically classify websites into, say, malicious, phishing, business, government site. It could be search engine, etc., etc. So this way, the web categorization engine typically categorizes the websites, and the policymakers or the system administrators are making policies on these firewalls based on these categories. Okay, so they would be something like search engine, you should allow. You want to block, say, recreational sites or gaming sites. Okay, so that is how typically a policy will be configured in an organization. Now, what happens is when a new attacker comes in, he would know already that there is a URL categorization in place. So to bypass this URL categorization, they would change the DNS at the last second. So when the web categorization engine has reached the service and scanned for it, it looks at the service and it thinks like this is a business service. Okay, let me classify this as a business category. Now, once classified as a business category, after that, when the victim will visit this website, it will open up the same website that the attacker has planted. Now, at the last second, which is right before the attack, the attacker is going to change this domain name. So by pointing the say hack.com to initially a business site getting classified as a business category in the web categorization engine, and now this example.com is now this hack.com is now pointing to a different service which is actually a phishing site. However, the URL categorization engines are going to take a lot more time to recognize that this domain has been abused at the 0 day, right? So these kind of attacks, they tend to completely bypass traditional firewalls, even UTMs, which are able to take in the DNS queries and do the filtering, but simply because of the huge performance requirement. Since the number of DNS queries, if you think, if you just try to imagine the number of DNS queries that would be fired in an organization, basically every single email that you open, every single website that you access, okay, every time you see a host name, that is always going to fire a DNS query to convert into an IP address. Now you can think about the volumes of these DNS queries that are coming out of any organization, any enterprise, especially when we talk about users like 2000 users, 5000 users in their environment, then you can think about the volume of the DNS traffic that is flowing in and out of the organization. This is exactly why the existing solutions also fall short. And this is very clear with the rise in the DNS attacks. So today, almost 88% of organizations have experienced one or more DNS attacks, one or more attacks with the DNS vector involved. Not just that, the awareness for DNS security is also standing very strong, where people do recognize its value and people do recognize that this is a very critical weak link in the entire security chain. Okay, so this is why DNS security has been suffering and it has been overlooked by most of the security vendors and SASE distributions, etc., simply because they treat it as a utility and not as a security loophole. Not just that, the amount of performance that is required and the amount of expertise it is required to create a dedicated DNS security solution, which enterprises are looking for, is something that the big players are absolutely missing out on. Okay. There are a total of 15 players in this market as of today. Okay. Most of them are serving primitive solutions to their end customers as a part of a global offering. Like, for example, you might have heard of Secure Service Edge or Secure Access Service Edge, or you may have heard of UTMs. So they are bundling up a lot of solutions together that will be able to deliver like a jack of all, master of none situation. Okay. So it would be able to secure our organization to a certain extent itself. Most of the DNS attacks that are happening today are happening at a very, dedicated and a complex level, where multiple DNS queries and there is a traffic which is correlating over days that is actually causing the data to leak. Okay. Now coming back here, the solution for it is CxDNS. So what will happen is, whenever your internal organization, wherever you draw the boundary for your internal organization, there would be typically a DNS resolver that is sitting. If you have never configured a DNS resolver, you would be typically using a cloud-based DNS resolver, like for that, the one that Google has set up or that Cloudflare has set up. Okay. Now, if you were to secure your own DNS, you would need an internal DNS server, okay, which most big organizations do have, and CxDNS will serve its security purpose while being this resolver. So it will be able to see every query from every client that is going out of the network, and every DNS query can be deeply inspected to identify if there is any attempts of DNS tunneling, if there is any attempts of privilege misuse, where you are not supposed to access it. Not just that, the beautiful part about it is, if you stop malicious domains at the DNS level, you don't need to stop them at a higher level. Like, for example, if I say a malicious site or a phishing site has to be blocked at the DNS level, no matter if that domain is sending you an email or that website is going to open up on the HTTP protocol, the DNS query is going to be a primary starting point for all network communication in most of these cases. And if blocked at that point, you would not have to worry about separate protocols altogether. Okay. This is with respect to the access control that DNS gives. Not just this, there is also a lot of data inspection that is required when it comes to DNS, because what happens is, these DNS queries are recursive in nature, as I told you earlier. So even the authoritative name server or the end DNS server may be saying that actually the DNS entry is not with me, or it is supposed to go to from example.com to example2.com to find out the real internet service. This is what example.com name server can respond. So there would be a recursion of such queries going to happen, and CxDNS will be able to account for all these queries, not just in that are happening for a particular DNS resolution, but also happening over a period of time, also happening from a malware that is already inside your network trying to perform command and control communication. Okay, so CxDNS will be sitting here and being able to analyze all of this. Now, where we stand apart is we would be able to create a zero trust native solution. Now, what a zero trust native solution is basically the zero trust architecture. What it says is, even if you don't trust anybody in your organization or outside that you're trying to connect to, you should always be secure in the transactions that you make. Okay, that's the concept of zero trust all across security. So what they're trying to say is, even if the client is trying to make DNS tunneling or trying to do an insider DNS abuse, they should not be able to. Okay, it should be policy aware, so it integrates with the rest of the security ecosystem. So there would already be a firewall in place. There would already be a secure web gateway in place. There will already be something for VPN in place. So the DNS security solution is going to sit at the center of this and be able to integrate with every single piece in this entire security infrastructure. Not just that, there will be AI-driven detection capabilities where we would be able to detect, say, if over a period of time, these domains have been abused to send data outside. Okay. Not just that, we will also be able to detect homographs. So homographs are typically when you have Cyrillic characters or type squatted domains that are presenting to you. Like, for example, it could be ICICIbank.com. Okay, but the I could be a Cyrillic character I, where it looks exactly like your normal I, but it is a completely separate character altogether and going to point to a different site altogether. Okay, so these kinds of homographs can also be detected at the DNS level. Okay, and not just that, the biggest power that we will have, okay, is because of the flexible deployment. Since we would be offering this not just as a cloud-based service, we would also be offering this as an on-prem solution where you can deploy your own DNS security solution in your premises, because this kind of there is a lot of data you would have to store somewhere and log it and do the forensic analysis on it. Okay, so if there is an on-premise deployment, we become the only ones in the world to be able to support that. Okay, all the other vendors that are, as I told you, be it Cisco, be it Zscaler, be it Palo Alto, all of these guys have offerings that are completely cloud-based offerings. Okay, and they will not be able to do an on-premise deployment. Where this plays like a massive role, the on-premise deployment plays a massive role, is with I'm sorry, I will come back to that, is with the large enterprises and the government sectors. Okay, now large enterprises and government sectors, the ball game is completely different than what typical B2B or small businesses have. With large enterprises and government sectors, there are typically tenders that get floated around, and we have to bid and participate in those tenders. Now, the good part about this is DNS security solutions are already being requested by a lot of such organizations. Okay, all across not just our country but in the world. Okay, and and the kind of value that they're looking for none of these solutions are able to meet. So they are basically trying to downgrade their value. The customers are downgrading the requirements because of the limitations of the solutions in the market. Okay. Now, since this is a very unique opportunity where we would be able to build something great and participate in uh, huge contracts, huge government contracts. So we are looking at a very big addressable market. Okay. Currently, just talking about the DNS security solutions, and these are projections drawn by uh, market research companies. Now I don't need to I don't need to shame them, but they are looking at a picture from a very different point of view. What they see is the market being at 1 billion today and growing to 5 billion at a 20% CAGR. When you honestly think about it, uh, when I come back to these segments, if you really think about it, every single organization, be it in the SMB, say leke in the government sector and in the defense, every single enterprise is looking for a DNS security solution. And we would be able to cater to even the SMB segments, which are completely untapped because of because of some operational efficiencies that we can create in the product. Okay, we know exactly what the other guys are using for their DNS security or DNS filtering solutions. And these are typically open source solutions that have been wrapped up by them. We know where the gaps are. Okay, we know that if we build a multi-threaded system for DNS resolution, then that would be 10 times more performant, converting to 10 times less the TCO for the end customer. Okay. So as you understand, the B2B buying journey is a very long and hard slog. Though this product that I'm talking about, the cybersecurity solution, is an extremely sticky solution to an organization. So you would not expect them to change a DNS security solution for like 5 to 10 years. Okay. And they would be more than happy to engage with us for this kind of long duration. Since these kind of products, what happens is if they're made extremely stable, they do not have too many customer queries coming in, even though they are handling a huge traffic. Okay. But if built in a very stable fashion, they do not generate too many customer inquiries, therefore reducing our cost of delivery. Okay. Not just that, if built right, we would also be able to create a lot more performance. We would be able to capitalize on the performance inefficiencies that the competitors have left behind. Okay. So to be able to take this long, hard slog, the plan that we have, the roadmap that we have is as follows. So first, we are building the business MVP. Here, I'm not just talking about the product. Here, I'm also talking about the marketing channels that we need to set up. There would be a set of targeted enterprises that we would want to reach out to first. And there would be a set of partners that we would want to bring as a part of our ecosystem. Now, these are networks that I firsthand have a tap into. Okay. Not just that, there are ways to deliver value in these networks, engaging with them right off the bat without knowing them. So, by creating the business MVP, we would be able to set up a foundation where the product development and its about the go-to market. The go-to market is basically that after the MVP is built, we would be reaching out to the enterprises directly. Not just that, the channel partner ecosystem that I'm talking to you about will be expanding. So, all our sales and the end customer relationships will be managed and handled by the channel partners, Okay. We would be more focused on developing the product correctly. We would be more focused on marketing it as loud as we can with organic channels as much as possible, organic content as much as possible, so that we can build a very scalable product that is able to create a virality among our customers. Okay. Now, once we are able to create this smallest unit, which is able to function in a manner that it is generating its own profits, which is a small business unit, then we can look into scaling and expanding into international GTMs. Now, when I say international GTMs, I'm talking about we would be able to reach out there in a push strategy. Okay, when we are setting up the marketing collaterals, we would be setting it up for the entire globe. Okay, so any international leads that come in via that, I'm discounting that when I say we are scaling and expanding in the international GTM. Okay, not just that, we would be diversifying to more customer segments, as I told you before. One part I missed out was when we talk about value-added service resellers, like for example, telecoms. Okay, when you look at telecoms, the telecoms have to provide the internet service for millions and millions of users and businesses. Okay, now all of these, not just them following the telecom guidelines, okay, the DOT guidelines, but them also giving businesses the empowerment to be able to secure their networks very effectively, is something that the telcos are also interested in. Okay. So that, that way, the
Sorry,
telcos
Vashishthā.
will play up scaling and expanding. Uh,
Sorry, I keep
would
losing you in
I'm
between. Is it just
No,
me or
the unit cell
it's
of the
happening for
business.
everybody. I think
Yeah.
Vashishthā, your network is like not stable. Can you do something about that, because you keep like
Oh, is that so?
blacking out every few seconds. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's happened like maybe like 3 times, 4 times so far, but it is like interrupting.
Uh, yeah, of my video, would that help?
let's try that.
Okay, let me just change the network as well. Oh, I'm really sorry. Where did you guys lose me?
Quite a few times. But no worries, I got the gist of it. Do you have any more slides to go through?
Uh, no, basically, that's about it. So when I talk about the ask from the investor, what I'm actually looking for is I'm looking for a risk-taking appetite. Okay, I will be able to build this on my own. Everything will be working out, and we will be able to capture the market the way we see it. But that's gonna take about like 5 years to 10 years for a minimum to be able to capture a significant portion of the market. Okay. When I talk about asking, I'm talking about a partner who would be able to absorb that taking appetite for us, and we would be able to expand further when it comes to pushing our product and building it, okay, in a manner that we are building for a larger audience, a larger scale, and we would be able to generate traction much faster than what our competitors can react to. Okay, so we would be able to flood the market and use that opportunity, given that we have that amount of risk-taking appetite. Because what is going to happen is when I bring in a team and we bring together, I am going to make mistakes. My team is to make mistakes. Okay. And if we are on an aggressive strategy, more common for us make mistakes. The only requirement for me is to be able to handle that risk. So when we make mistakes, we get up faster, we get up with a stronger outlook on the market.
Okay, you're still breaking up, just for the record. Okay, I hear you. Anything else that you want to talk about? Hello?
Yeah. So I think that summarizes everything that we are trying to do at CxDNS.
Okay. So let me just first ask you, what's your background, Vashishthā?
So I basically graduated from IIT Bombay in 2022. I did my dual degree there in physics and nanoscience and nanotech. Then after that, I worked in a quantum communications company, quantum networking company called Q Labs, and I built the quantum network simulator there. Okay. This was appreciated by a lot of defense ministers. It was appreciated by a lot of DRDO folks, etc., etc., globally as well. Now, after that, I came back into cybersecurity at SafeSquared Labs, and we built, we were already building a secure web gateway. I helped them take it to the market with a stronger outlook, as I told you earlier. So, I myself have participated in tenders. I have created my own partner ecosystem, which are trusted individuals in the same system integration, technology space, ITES space, where they are able to handle large enterprises, large customers like NHPC, like the Maharatna PSUs of India, basically, like Department of Atomic Energy, etc., etc. So we built this from the ground up. We built the partner ecosystem and the etc. from the ground up, all again orienting towards the Indian PSUs. We had already delivered all across the globe in the past. Okay, so I had a lot of exposure with respect to that as well, and we did, did some product building as well. So this secure web gateway, the product itself is like a huge, humongous product. Okay, it has like thousands of moving parts. Okay, and we built a few modules for reporting, etc., etc. So this is what I did with SafeSquared Labs, and this is like a couple of years there.
Okay. When you say you were involved in all of these things, what did you do exactly?
So, okay, let me tell you an example of how these cases work. So typically what happens is we go and we conduct security awareness workshops at these organizations where we show live simulations. Okay, like I could actually show it to you right now. If you would have just a couple of minutes, you can actually go to swgaudit.com. Okay.
Let's skip that. So I'm just trying to understand, in the interest of time as well, I'm just trying to understand your background. So what's your skill set that you have applied in all of these things?
So my skill set is completely diverse. So basically, I have, from the point of view of computers and networking, I understand computers from starting off from the diode and the op-amps to building microcontrollers to building machine learning systems, etc., to web based architectures, and all of these I've gone through over the years. Okay, cloud infrastructure, cloud orchestration, how all of these play a part together. Of course, in cybersecurity and networking was a part of it. But this is with respect to the technology side of things. With respect to the sales and the go-to-market strategies, I have worked directly with in curating RFPs, in participating, bidding in RFPs, in aligning channel partners to bid into RFPs, in getting our I'll try turning on the cam again. Okay. So we have already participated in, uh, you know, creating and curating those RFPs and bidding for them. We have created channel networks where they are able to bid for us. Okay. And we have also created, there was a special case, but we got them to create a tender or publish a tender for our product in specific. Okay, which is a very big deal if you understand the government sector. So we basically got all of that done as well.
So if I were to understand this correctly, you have actually developed these products, hard coded and essentially coded these products and put them into place?
No.
Okay.
So when it comes to the secure web gateway, it was built over 20 years. Okay, I was not into existence until then. Okay, so it was being built a long time back, and it is like a very sticky product. So it takes a lot of time for these products to get stable. Okay, because if you think about the volume of traffic that is flowing through, it's very highly likely that there will be some production issue coming in. And production issue is like 500 users का internet बंद हो जाता है. Okay, 5,000 users का internet बंद हो जाता है. So it is a very big issue when it comes to production. Okay, so over the years, we have reached a stage where, you know, the last production issue we saw was 6 years ago at Safeguard Labs. Okay, so that is how the products are, you know, especially in the cybersecurity and network security space at the perimeter, the products do take a lot of time to get stabilized. They don't take much time to get to an MVP.
Okay, so I'm quite well aware of most of these things. I used to work for Cisco. I have a
Oh,
very
that's
good,
lovely. I
I've
did
got a
not.
very good grasp of their product suite, and I used to build product for Cisco. So I'm
Okay.
very well aware
So
of
which product are you
everything.
talking about from Cisco?
I'm well aware of all of your firewalls, including DPIs, for any DLPs, etc., etc. So I'm quite well aware of all of that.
Lovely. Then I think you might appreciate the gap in the DNS security market that exists today.
Yeah, we'll come to that. I'm just trying to understand your profile first.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't built these products, what exactly was your contribution? Because what I'm hearing a lot of sales.
Right.
And when you talk about from diode to, anything with respect to microcontroller and all of those
Yeah.
things, if I were to give you to design a system, would you be able to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so you have actually designed hardware products.
Yeah, so I have not designed hardware products. Okay, let me be very clear there. Basically, we have done, I have designed software products. Okay, so when it comes to the quantum network simulator that I was talking to you about, I built that from ground up. I have developed it on my own. Okay,
So that's a software simulator that you worked on.
correct. That was a software simulator that I worked on.
And
That
you
was,
actually coded that into place?
yeah, I coded that from the ground up. So I
Okay.
have basically coding experience since I was 9. Okay. So over the years, I have developed all those skill sets. Where I was lagging behind was my marketing, my sales, etc., all those things that I got to pick up on in the last couple of years. At this point, I am well-rounded with not just the sales and marketing side, but the tech side as well.
Understood. Okay. Now let's look at the value proposition that you're talking about. If I understand this correctly, you are essentially talking about DPIs.
DPIs. Can you
Yes.
elaborate?
Deep packet inspects.
So when it comes to deep packet inspection in DNS protocol, it is only at the encrypted DNS level. Okay. When we talk about encrypted DNS, it is in the DOH or the DOT side. Okay. DNS over TLS or DNS over HTTPS. In either of those cases, the traffic is actually an HTTP traffic or even if it is a DNS traffic, we can take care at DNS, take care of the DNS via TLS. But in practical use, it is hardly being, used in any of the organizations. Okay, the DNS over HTTPS.
Okay, so So here is the thing. So I'm quite aware of all the ZTNA products utilizing DPIs for any oversized packets, any sort of unknown encryption that might be there and everything else. So there are lots of use cases in terms of,
Correct.
or lots of variables that could potentially be tweaked. You spoke about the consistency of certain packets that go through. Right?
Uh, I was actually referring to those data packets. So say, for example, I will be sending you a DNS query today. Okay. It will,
That's a UDP 53.
pardon?
That's a UDP 53.
Yeah, it's a UDP 53. Now the thing
Hmm.
is, DNS by itself is stateless, right?
Hmm.
So over a period of time, say over 10 or 15 minutes, if I were to send 5 DNS queries, okay, to the same domain, but a different subdomain, and the subdomain is actually capturing your data. Okay. In the subdomain, your data is being encoded and then it is being sent across. Now, how will you be able to detect in any of your security appliances that I am actually encoding in base 64 and sending the data across in a DNS query, and that too over 5 DNS queries on a 15-minute period? I don't think
Okay.
any solution is able to detect that.
So if I can request you, maybe do more competitive analysis on this, because there are solutions out there, and I know startups as well who have been doing this. I actually was working with a startup maybe 2 years ago, who was actually quite well prepared for this kind of solution, and they had this DPI across different use cases very well captured, right? So just the kind of encoding that you are putting in place,
No.
that would create an anomaly.
Okay.
Okay. So what your solution talks about, and if I am understanding this correctly, it's essentially looking at all the packets that are coming through, and you can talk about the policy and posturing and all of those things. Essentially, basis that whatever your solution is, it's trying to inspect and trying to figure out what those anomalies are, and you're trying to put an AI ML into place to detect and classify, reclassify whatever it is happening.
Yeah.
Right? That's the kind of solution you're talking about.
Yeah. That is definitely going to happen. Yes.
Right. So maybe, and this is maybe one of the inputs as well, that you need to have a proper competitive slide.
Okay.
Okay. So your solution, see, this piece that you're, forget about the market size and all, I'm not going to go into that just yet, because again, that's a very subjective thing. There are lots
Yeah.
of opinions, lots of perspectives. Different people can have different point of views.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just as a problem statement and a solution point of view, and who are the incumbents? What are they talking about? So you mentioned Cisco, you mentioned Zscaler. I'm actually connected to the top leadership in these companies.
Okay.
Right. So I'm quite aware of what these guys are doing, including, say, Gigamon.
Okay.
Right. So you probably need to do a bit more deep dive in terms of the competitive examples.
Okay.
Okay. And then present a clear picture, because ZTNA is nothing new. With
Yeah,
respect to
absolutely.
DNS, with respect to DNS attacks, zero-day DNS attacks, nothing new. They have been happening, they will continue to happen. And all of these companies, they are aware of this problem space. Right?
Yeah.
So while you might have the network to tap into, and I trust you to say that, you have done all of these things and you have a certain distribution network and all of these things in place. But at the end of the day, the solution that you're talking about, and in your words, the cost of switching is really high. The decision to even land a customer is really high. The sales cycle, as you would call it. Right?
Absolutely. The sales
It's
cycle
really
is
high.
6 to 8 months for a minimum in a
Sure.
large enterprise.
Now, one of the biggest challenge, and let me just ask you this before I continue. How far along is this product? Have you started building this yet?
No, this product is completely in the idea stage. It is
Idea
not
stage. Okay.
built yet. There's no
Okay.
prototype we have.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, let me just put it this way. Say there is some company that you want to target. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just call it company X, not
Yeah.
X as in Twitter X, but company X. Okay. Now, company X is using a bunch of products across from its data center to switching, routing, wireless, security, and everything else from
Correct.
different vendors, say a combination of Cisco, Palo Alto, or let's say Zscaler.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you think you are going to pitch it to them? And what is it that's going to happen right after?
Okay. Okay. I'll give you a picture of how that would happen. So
Hmm.
basically, first I would be building a simulation where I would be able to create a web application or something that the end customer can use to verify if their existing solutions are able to defend against the kind of attacks that I will be able to. Okay. Then I will try to bring this website as close to the customer, in front of the customer, trying it out in their environment. Okay. Pushing them to try it out in their environment as much as possible. If I need an entry there, I go with a cybersecurity awareness program where I'm able to not just demonstrate how these attacks happen, okay, test their network, and apart from that, give them checklists out as to how they can protect their network against these kind of attacks. Then comes the POC stage after the demo of the product is given for defending this product, these kind of problems. Then the POC stage comes in where the partner gets engaged. Okay, then the partner will be working with the end customer to take the product from the demo stage to curating the RFP in after the POC and getting things onboarded there. So
Let me ask you
typically,
this: all the partners that you're talking about,
yeah,
would they be your exclusive partner or would they handle other products as well?
they would be handling other products as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair. So, what's in the best interest of the partner and what's in the best interest of the customer?
So in the best interest of the customer, his whole idea should be to be able to reduce his attack surface as much as possible. So if I'm showing some gaps, then the end customer has to close down on them. Now, in the end customer's best interest value wise, what tends to happen is all of these other organizations that I have mentioned, like we talked about Cisco, Palo Alto, Zscaler, these are all based out of the US. Okay. There is there is a tariff problem, number one. Secondly, there is a sovereignty problem. Okay. So you can't be using US products and then call your US products in the cyber security and then calling the nation sovereign. It is not sovereign anymore. Okay. Since all of these products are coming from outside. So India is going to need its own cyber security defense mechanisms. Okay. Not just that, when my product comes into picture, you would be able to reduce the TCO drastically for the end customer. Okay. Simply because the other vendors are either offering a cloud-based solution which will not fit with their requirements, or when they give an on-prem deployment for the end customer, the performance will be sucking because these are all multi-process systems that they have built. Okay. Right from the proxy servers and secure web gateways to all the SASE products that they have built, all the competitors so far have been on multi-process applications, open source multi-process applications at their heart. Okay. Is my understanding so far. I think you can enlighten me there, but this is my understanding so far from whatever I have seen in their products so far.
Have you been inside a data center ever?
Yeah, I've been into many.
Okay. What sort of devices did you see in there?
It's typically like Cisco is typically everywhere, is what I've seen when it
No,
comes to
what
data.
kind of devices?
What kind of devices? And then there are tracks, the hardwares, the network switches.
Yeah.
There's
So, when you talk
like,
about the hardware, what kind of hardware?
depends on the data center, but typically they would have what kind of hardware, as in you're talking about Dell, HP, the model make, or you're talking about the hardware specs or the sizes.
No, different kinds of devices.
So, okay. In a data center, there would be the main server hardware pieces, which would have the CPU racks. Okay. Then there would be some cooling mechanisms to it. There would be some redundancies to it. There would be some networking devices like switches, routers, etc. There would be some backup and restoration services, etc. And that's
Okay.
about it. Like that's what I had seen so far in the data centers.
Okay.
There would definitely be a SOC team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Did you see any physical devices with respect to firewalls and everything else?
Physical devices with respect to firewalls, they did not show it to me. Okay. But I believe that there are UTMs and firewalls which are still being used as hardware appliances, although the scalability is a very big issue when you use a hardware appliance.
Okay. Again, there is no right solution without the context. So everything has its own use. Having said that, the point that I would actually want to make is what you are talking about, and especially with respect to what's in the best interest for the customers and what's interest for the channel partners and everything else, there are a lot of variables. And I've
Okay.
worked with these guys extensively.
Okay.
So when you sort of take a pause on looking at the technical aspect of things and look at the business aspect of things, you'd probably come to a different realization. You're a smart guy. I'm sure you'll be able to ask these questions. Ask relevant questions to yourself in terms of how the business interests work.
Right.
And once you ask these questions, maybe you'll find the kind of answers that would help you think more business. Okay. Technologically speaking, what you're talking about, to a certain extent, it exists, unless and until you have very specific differentiation. And that's when I was talking about the competitive example. If you go into the depth of each of these products that at least 10 of these companies have, and do some more competitive analysis in terms of who are the startups in this particular sector as well. I know VCs who have extensively invested in cybersecurity solutions, and a lot of those guys are attacking this. So to get to a piece or get to a place where the business starts making sense for external capital, there needs to be a lot more clarity that you need to bring to the system. And I'll give you one more example. So you spoke about your GTM and everything else. You spoke about how you want to position it, how you want to put it out there in front of your potential customers. Loud marketing is the phrase I think that you used. What does that mean? What would you do exactly to be able to get to that place? And this is all classified under the clarity that you are bringing to the system. So if you take a step back and think about this, the reason that you are here or you would be in front of any investor is so that you can make them understand the business value of what you are doing and make it interesting enough for them to see that if there is money that we put in, this is the kind of return that I'm expecting. It's not a debate. It's not an argument. It's not a ego play. It's pure business. No matter what startup you are running, at the end of the day, anybody can build a product and run a startup. That's absolutely fine. But if you want external capital, then there are certain requirements. There are certain precursors that have to be spoken about, that have to be understood. And a very basic requirement for that is that you talk in a language, you talk about things that the other person understands. Your pitch is very tech heavy. It's a good thing as a second conversation. But as a first conversation, I want to understand business. If I were to give you, say, 1 CR, what kind of returns am I looking at? Do I get any sense? Forget about that. That also comes later. First thing is, do I even understand what you are building? Do I even understand, not in the technical terms of it, but the actual implication of it? And what do I need? I need to understand who are the competitors. What are the products that you're calling out from them? What is the gap that if you are looking at this particular solution and say that, okay, Cisco has got so-and-so firewall, but this lacks this because it's not able to do this. Cisco has got its own ICE engine. It does a bunch of things. Palo Alto has got its own products. Gigamon has got its own products. Zscaler has got its own products. Now, if you give me a certain sense of clarity to say that, look, I have looked at all of these products. This is how they function. And this is the exact gap. This is what they are not doing. You are trying to sell DPIs. But DPIs exist. Now you are assuming that as an investor, most people understand what you're talking about. But the people that you'll be talking to, they understand business way better than they understand technology.
Okay.
Right? If you cannot, and you took what, half an hour to talk about everything that you spoke about. But in half an hour, I did not get clarity in terms of the business that you are building.
Right.
Anybody who's going to go back, they will do their own research. They will have their own technical person. They will say that, okay, this is what these guys are doing. And unless and until you point out, you get to the specifics, not the generic keywords, get to the specifics and say that, look, if this company has product A, they do DPI, but if they probably don't do packet analysis, or they don't do the packet size analysis. They don't do the encoding analysis. And this is what I'm doing. Then it starts making sense. But if I look and search on the internet, even if the analyst or an associate you're potentially going to talk to, they sit in front of you and they do a quick Google search and just use the keywords that you have used. They'll probably come up with a bunch of solutions where they will read the keywords and say that, this exists. Maybe they understand, maybe they don't understand. But just a quick keyword scan will probably put them in a place where they'll start saying that, okay, this exists. What are you talking about? And especially the pitch is for association, meaning you need to hook me. The first conversation is not for you to sell. First conversation is for you to assess whether I'm even interested in this or not. Whether I even understand. You spoke a lot about the strategic benefits and this kind of partner and that kind of partner. Trust me when I say this, every investor is that and every investor is not that. Depends on you. I have never seen a founder who says that I want a strategic partner, get a strategic partner. Because people who actually get strategic partners, they showcase value to them so that the other person feels that if I don't do this, I will miss out on something. Your best friend is not your best friend because he's the best person. He's your best friend because you are the best person that he can think of. Okay, very subtle difference.
I think
What you want.
I think he just like dropped from the call. I think maybe his network dropped. Let me try to get him back.
In the meantime, anybody, all the guys here, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead. Let's utilize the time that we have.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Zoom just got disconnected all of a sudden.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so what I was saying was the final example that I was trying to give you was people who get attracted to you, investors who get attracted to your startup, they automatically become strategic partners. They will do everything to make sure that you become successful. And trust me when I say this, from a 50 CR fund to 500 CR fund, all of these guys have got vested interest to make sure that you become successful.
Right.
If you don't become successful, their fund will not go anywhere. But for that, you have to show value. You could just be one of 20 investments that someone has made within their fund life cycle, but you could just be at a place where they don't see enough value. Then they drop you. They will much rather focus on the other 19 because they don't see you making that difference.
Yeah.
That's just a check that's written off now. And the reason the funds are structured a certain way is because they have the capability to write things off. And that means you are no longer a strategic, you are no longer looking at a strategic partner. Okay, so every fund manager is a strategic partner, and they are not, depending on who you are. Okay, so it's not about anybody else, it's all about you. You need to bring to the fore the clarity, the specificity, the gravity that makes someone feel attracted and says that you know what you're talking. You're good at sales, I get that. You have that nuanced conversation capability.
Yeah.
But it's a lot about what you are doing, not as much about what I am looking for. And that's a very fine difference, because you might think of a strategic partner as someone that who sees the world the same way as you see it. Very rare to find those, especially an external investor. Okay, even if you're looking for a co-founder right now, go and talk to 50 different people and say that this is what I'm doing. And on every touch point, if you expect that you will find someone who has this exact same vision, exact same thought process as you, not going to happen. Co-founders also have a different thought process. Anybody who has ever had a co-founder knows the arguments are an integral part of building a company. Right? They happen because different people come up with different thought processes.
Yeah.
You have to find out how to move forward. But for that, you need to see value in each other. If you don't see that, then someone is going to drop out. Okay. So what I didn't see as much was clarity. A lot of things, even with respect to the product, are open for debate. I can have a very different perception about different things because I have seen certain products, I have seen certain roadmaps, which might give me a very different perception. Whereas you are coming from a different experience. So my biases and my experience is what is defining my perception. Your biases and your experience is what is defining your perception. Right? For you to be able to figure out if you can get external investment from me, my biases need to point me in a way where I start believing you are making sense.
Yeah.
So it's not about you.
Yeah.
And that's classic sales. Sales is never about the
Absolutely.
company.
Yeah.
It's always about the customer.
Yeah.
Right? You can get to them with the best product that you have, and you could just talk the feature list the hell out of the product, and they could just give one line, I'm not interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because you are not solving their problem. You don't even know what their problem is. So
Yeah.
as a fund, my first problem is that I need to give money back to the LPs. That means I need to make shitloads of money first.
Right.
If I can't believe that you can make me shitloads of money, why would I want to put a bet on you?
Right.
So there are certain deviations from this behavior as well. Okay. And again, a lot of nuanced conversations here. But the core value that I want to, or the core point that I want to leave with you here is that you need to bring clarity to your business. Business first, then you go into the deep dive.
Okay.
Make sure people understand what the problem is. If I don't even understand what the problem is, I'm done. I mean, I'll probably lose you after 30 seconds. Okay. Solution is debatable, meaning there could be multiple solutions solving the same problem.
Yeah.
Whether your solution is the best solution, and trust me when I say this, I've seen this happen so many times. Different startups, same sector, same product, but the investor, and both talking to the same investor, but the investor choosing one over another. Okay. And this also happens. So you have to be at a place where you're not just thinking that, okay, I'm just the best startup that is out there. I mean, sure, in your head you may be, but as an investor, I have got literally 50 options every month.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to make, say, 20, 25, 30 investments in a 3-year cycle. That means even if 1,000 startups reach out to me every year, I'm not making more than 10 investments. Okay. Sure, 10, 15, whatever you want to call it, if the opportunities are really that great. But do you stand out and you stand up as one of those 10 or not, that's up to you. Okay, so few points. Competitive analysis. It has to really be there. GTM. You spoke about it in high-level keywords. Get to the depth of it. I mean, saying marketing, what does marketing mean? Loud marketing, what does it mean? Give me the actual specifics so that I know when you talk about even your distribution, when you're talking about it, how many, what areas, what cities. You're talking about a cybersecurity solution. Every vendor that is out there, from Cisco to Palo Alto to Zscaler, they have it. Like you said, all these channel partners, they've got a multi-vendor playbook.
Yeah.
Right. So anybody you are talking to, these guys are also talking to them most likely. At least all of them, maybe two of them. Doesn't really matter. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does this play stand out for you? I didn't get any clarity. Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about the best interest of the customer. Sure. Okay. So let me give you this example. If it was such a high pressing opportunity, how is it that none of these other companies who are deeply ingrained into this particular space, they have not prioritized this in their product roadmap? Where is the business? What is the business loss? Sure, it's happening. Unless and until you can build a product and show me, I can do this, and this is the product suite of these 5 competitors who are the most well-known, most adopted. They have got this capability. They are not able to do this. This particular product, it has taken me 2 years to build. And even if they were to try and replicate this tomorrow, it will take them at least a year and a half, which will give me a 1 year lead. Then it makes sense to me. At an idea stage, selling this kind of product, to me, it's a very difficult thing. Because if I were to ask you how long it will take for you to build it, you might say 1 year. But then if I were to look at this and say that, okay, let's say Zscaler wants to put a team of 10 highly skilled cybersecurity developers, and that has 5 highly skilled cybersecurity salespeople. Can they do this in 2 months? Sure. 3 months? Sure. 6 months? Sure. In any scenario that you want to play this out, if this becomes a top of the mind priority for their customers, it will automatically go in their product roadmap. And all of these guys are aware. They know this problem. They're already taking steps to solve it. So until you have the solution, it's very difficult. It's just theory. Right? And if you're not bringing in the clarity, a murky theory with a lot of murky narrative, that gets nothing. Okay. So, and even the market size, I mean, sure, you can look at it a certain way, someone else is going to look at it a certain way. But at the end of the day, when I look at it and say that, okay, how big of a market size, how big of a TAM do I need to make sure that an investor putting in 1 CR makes at least 10x? Do you have that in the first place? That's one filter. I think I was reading something someplace, and that particular note said that market size is too small is the second most prominent reason why investors don't invest.
On the other hand, I would beg to differ a little bit. So when it comes to YC and Sam Altman, what they have told is when they look at the biggest successes they have had, it were coming from the smallest market that were growing.
See, again, all of this is up for debate because, see, at the end of the day, I do not know of any product which started as X, remained X after 3 years. Okay?
Yeah.
So, personally speaking, I'm looking for clarity in market size, not the actual market size.
Okay.
Okay. If you're telling me it's a 4.5 billion, 5 billion market, the question for me is, where can you branch out? What can you do? How can you expand? I didn't get any clarity on that either. It's just a bunch of keywords.
I understand.
Okay. So if you become a security solutions company, and from DNS to you start figuring out other things, now the question that I have to ask is, Now you are in the same play area as everybody else.
Right.
How will you survive? How will you sustain? How will you make sure that you are putting something out there that says that my product suite is better than anything that Palo Alto or Zscaler has to offer? So it becomes an even riskier bet, even if I want to look at expanded market size.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Selling one product, see, the simplest play I can talk about is if you build this product, don't try and find customers. Go to any of these companies and say, this is what I've built, this is how well it does, I've done these POCs, etc., etc. Get acquired. Unless and until you really want to get into a space where you want to compete with all of these guys
Okay.
across all the product suites.
Okay.
That is the
No, I
simplest
understand
way.
that is what they have done too, like over the years. Whenever the cybersecurity products have taken a little bit of a charge, they have been bought over, or especially in the secure web gateway market, they've been run out of the market.
Exactly. I mean, see, that's the place. See, no matter what you think, when you look at the bigger market picture, you have to, as a founder, understand what the bigger market picture is. Can you really stand out? For example, let's just put it this way. There was a point in time when the SIM companies in India, there were 5, 6. Now they're down to 2, 3. And of that, even just 2 are prominent. Other 2 are just, for labels.
Yeah.
All because one person decided that I want to do something very different. If you want to go against that person, you really need something huge behind you.
Right.
So, you can talk about any of these YC examples and all of those things, but very important consideration here is that when you look at the geographical significance and the maturity of the market itself, it's very different. If you want to go to YC, stay in US, it's a different playing field. If you want to operate in India, it's a very different playing field.
I understand.
Indian customers, even the B2B companies that you're talking about, right? Their mindset is not the same as an executive sitting in the US making that decision.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
So the decision-making process, the critical thinking process, the problem awareness process, very different. YC is extremely successful. I wouldn't even call it actually extremely successful because their percentages are on par with someone like, say, a TechCrunch or some other vendors that are out there, or some other accelerators that are out there. Okay. Nothing that says that it's an 5x massively outsized return producing company than someone else. They are very good at PR and marketing. They've got a bunch of very good people, right? But that does not make them say that I onboarded 200 companies and 190 of them are on path to becoming a $1 billion valuation company. No, they're still sitting at a 16-20% average.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the entire bet that every VC makes. 20% of my portfolio is going to become successful.
Yeah. The power law works there.
Exactly. Right? So
Yeah.
the difference is that the geographical significance of your operations, of your business, of your headquarter and everything else, that plays a massive role. You can listen to YC advice, but you have to still contextualize it.
No, I
To still
understand.
figure out how it will work in India. And that's not a YC playbook. It's
Absolutely.
not. You have to come up with your own. Sure. So YC gives a lot of good advice. I mean, in an ideal world, I would love to follow them. But then the world that I've seen, their advice is not practical in India.
Okay.
Few things work very nicely. Okay. For example, one of the YC advices, be really good at PR and marketing, build the marketing and hype first, create the pipeline, and then build the product. Okay. Do that in India. Try it. Okay. All the customers are going to come back and say and write a 5-star review saying that this product is absolutely bad. It does not even exist. Anybody who wants to use you after that, they'll look at the reviews and they'll be like, not using it. Closed betas work, but you try and say that I will put it in the public market, not happening.
That is,
Because we are extremely critical about what's being told to us. We are not
yeah.
that open.
Yeah. Indians rip apart a product ground up for every single thing that we might have told them.
Product, company, founder, team, does not matter. You name it. If you are not meeting their standards and expectations from day one, they will come back to you with such a kind of comment and reviews that you will be scared that why did I do this?
I
Okay.
totally.
Even in B2B, B2B is not about products or features. One of those things that I would actually want to explicitly point out. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I've seen best products not selling. There was a point in time, there was a wireless company who got acquired by HP, got acquired by someone else. They were not able to make the kind of sales. Better product, 100% better product. But they were not able to make the sales because they did not have the B2B relationship. So they onboarded some of the salespeople from the other competitor companies who then established those relationships. And relationship is not with the company, it's with the salesperson.
With the salesperson, right? Exactly.
So if the salesperson moves, they move the account.
Yeah.
That's why you'll see salespeople are highly revered.
Yeah.
The commissions are like crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
And that creates the entry level for us too. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So for anybody to penetrate a B2B market, if you don't have the relationship, no matter what kind of product you're talking about, not working. Because at the end of the day, as a customer, I'll just turn around and say that, okay, you know what? I just spoke to this particular company. This is their material. This is what they're doing. I really like it. Can you guys do this? Because they have that. So it becomes even more difficult. The next thing, even if the company decides that, I don't want to do this, they'll come to you and say that I want to acquire you. Okay. So there are a lot of ways this entire sales cycle works out. What the Gartner screenshot that you have,
Yeah.
that's theory.
Absolutely.
Practical world is relatively different. I wouldn't call it very different because they have got all the keywords, but when you start executing them, it's a very different world. It's not the same. Okay. It's a lot of heartburn. It's a lot of heartache as well, because just the lead time, that will kill you. Doing 10 follow-ups for 6 months, that will kill you if you don't have the runway.
Yeah.
And to figure, again, so yeah, I mean, just in the interest of time, too many things. Okay. But bring more clarity. I mean, do more research. Even just, I would say, go back, watch YC videos to figure out how to make a pitch deck. It's not a technical discussion. That comes later. First, convince me there is enough business there.
Okay.
Okay. Raghav has put a chat saying, what about the argument about sovereignty? Would that be affected by being acquired by okay, data localization is something that is very heavily present right now.
No, I wasn't
Sure.
talking about data localization there. I was talking about, for example, it works as the India's defense. Like if the cybersecurity of the nation is not being built by the nation, then they have a huge problem.
So are you saying that Indian defense organizations, they do not use Cisco products or Palo Alto products?
They use Cisco and Palo Alto problems, and that
Sure.
is the problem.
No,
That is the
because
problem.
see, it's not. Again, very practical example,
Doesn't
right?
use any foreign product.
Again, very different examples here. Let's just say that if I were to say that I'm going to use a Huawei product,
Yeah.
okay, versus a Cisco product.
Yeah.
The argument applies when you're talking about sensitive organizations
Like
with
critical
deep
infrastructure.
R&D,
Yeah.
not your everyday organizations in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Even in sensitive organizations, depends how your solution architecture is, where the packets are moving. If I am talking about a R&D facility where there is no external internet connectivity and everything is in a sandbox kind of environment, okay, I'm really not worried unless and until there is a deep threat coming from some place where the hardware device itself is doing something that it is not authorized to do.
Hmm.
And I've worked with these defense sector guys as well. They are happy to buy Cisco products. They are happy to buy Palo Alto products, Fortinet products, you name it,
Absolutely.
right? Because the sales guys, once they enter the premise, and there are very dedicated kind of sales guys here, not your everyday sales guy. Okay, they have a deep expertise and relationship. Okay, relationship. So once they enter, the communication that happens is, sir, you do not have to worry about any data going out anywhere or anything malicious that is happening. I will secure it. I will make sure this is the guarantee. This is how it happens. This is how the entire solution they will bring a solution architect on the table. They will bring every bit of consultant that is available across all the different functions on the table just to put the other person's mind at ease. And then they will put that in place, show it. That look, you can put a Wireshark here. I'm sure you're aware of Wireshark, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you put a Wireshark here, see what you're getting, and we will just do a complete packet capture and an entire analysis and whatever. They'll show it to you. So it's not as difficult as you say, unless there is a very explicit threat.
Okay. Okay. So what would you comment about the Nyara case that happened recently?
I haven't looked at it as much in depth, to be honest with you. So I would not comment on that just yet. But I wouldn't call it the rule. An exception is not a rule.
Actually, the thing is, with the current landscape, if Microsoft can just shut down any organization's account like that and stop their operations altogether, you can think about what cybersecurity products in these organizations can do. If Cisco decides, or if Cisco decides कि हाँ अब updates आने बंद हो जाएंगे India को, okay,
True.
we are dead.
Okay. But here is the thing. That's one company.
Yeah, but we will be
If
dead just by that one company.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. See, you are thinking about it from the extreme perspective that this is what happens. But if this is something that happens, everybody will stop using Microsoft and everybody will move on to someone else.
If you
If
have
they
an
make this a
alternative in
rule.
the market. Yeah, if you have an
Yeah,
alternative.
sure. But okay, here is the thing. Let's just take a hypothetical market example and say that Cisco has 30% market share, Palo Alto has 30% market share, Zscaler has 10% market share, Gigaman has got 10% market share, whatever,
Yeah.
right? If tomorrow Cisco does something like this and everybody says that this is an extremely unfair policy, we are dropping you, 30% market share becomes available.
Yeah.
Money drives the world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So this 30% market share that opens up, who's going to go for it? Now everybody else is competing for this, to the extent that all the new startups who are coming up, who are not even at that level that you might know of their names, they will want to penetrate this market.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is an extremely fast moving thing that happens. It's not something to say that, and again, I mean, we hear a lot of marketing and news and all of those things, but we don't know the actual details. So I might say that, something works a certain way because I read about it a certain way, but I don't know about it as much depth to be able to come to a conclusion. I would much rather know more. Okay.
Okay.
There might be reasons, there might be genuine reasons. I don't know. I mean, the affinities and biases that we have, they can lead us into a certain direction, but my experience says that you have to know the other side as well. That's the only way you can figure out where the overall picture stands.
I
Okay.
get it.
Okay, a couple of other questions. In which part of the pitch? Again, so if you have the kind of background, this is who Siddhant. Okay, so the startup that you're building in, first things first, there is something called founder market fit, which is very real. If you do not have the experience that is required in the market, most people will lose interest. Very few funds have got the appetite to accommodate for the learning curve the founder will have in a new market that they are not experienced in. So if you have the experience, introduce yourself first. Set up the base where someone can start believing that this guy knows what they are talking about and they have this kind of experience to back it up. And so I'm more inclined to listen to it more intently. If you don't have the experience, then maybe take it off, or try and see if there is something very relevant overlapping that you can pitch out. Otherwise, maybe sort of put it at the back burner, because establishing trust is the main objective. If I can't establish trust, then it becomes very difficult. I don't understand the argument here. Why would Cisco willingly hurt their business by alienating their own customers? Okay. So they would not willingly do it. But again, there are lots of geopolitical narratives that happen. It could be a core policy violation because of which certain stands might be taken. Long-term implication aside, they could just be to put some pressure about certain things. So things
They
happen.
could just sanction organizations, like for example, Department of Atomic Energy is sanctioned by them. They know US company will be able to sell there. So they
So it's not about customers anymore. I mean, there are some things that supersede customers, especially when it comes to government policy, regulations, etc., etc. And this is probably, I think that's a good example, because one of the cases where customer is not the god is if they are violating any policy, regulation, etc. Then they are not. You have to take a stand to safeguard your company first. Okay, so that's all the time that I had today. So, Vashishthā, do you have any questions for me?
It was lovely speaking to you, Miyaji, sorry. The only question I have is like, would you be available for a meetup or a mail conversations for later, for a future
Sure. So
stage?
let me just put in my LinkedIn.
Surely. Because it was lovely speaking to you and we belong in the same space. And there are a few, material that I would like to share with you that I think you would enjoy going through.
Sure. I mean, yeah, see, I'll tell you this. A few years ago, maybe about nearly a decade ago, I was a hardcore tech person. Okay. I would have loved to have this conversation back then. But then I moved and the entire worldview changed. I realized that most things that we touch in our daily lives, they are nothing more than tools. That is it. The usage of this tool depends on the value that it is imparting, the benefit that I get out of it, and the return on investment that I get. The most, conservatively speaking, the most important consideration, my ROI. If tomorrow WhatsApp makes you pay 100 rupees subscription fee, you will move to Telegram.
Yeah.
ROI is not justified anymore because there are other alternatives.
Correct.
No matter how good a product WhatsApp is, no matter how long you have been using it, 100 rupees is going to make all the difference.
Yeah.
Telegram start charging it, you will move to Hike. And the founder will say, I'm not shutting down the company anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So money drives the entire world.
Yeah.
Technology is just a part of it. This hardcore realization has to be looked at by every founder and imbibed into themselves to say that no matter how good a product you are making, even the best deep tech products, there is a business angle to it. Even if, for example, say we live in a world where you come from a quantum computing background. Let's say I'm able to do 1,000 qubits processing today.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say you have built it and I'm able to do it. But there is nothing else that I can use it for.
It's not entirely true.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just giving a hypothetical example.
okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying that let's just say you built 1,000 qubits computer, but nobody knows how to use it, how to make money out of it. That technology is going to go and sit someplace in a warehouse.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Not that AI ML is new, existed in 70s and 80s.
Yeah, true.
But, right? Not that robotics is new, not that even mobile phones were new when we actually became aware of them.
Yeah, you are.
They had all been in place for 20, 30 years. Not that blockchain is new.
Yeah.
But the adoption, what happened to it? Sure. I mean, it says it has a lot of promise, but the money is not there yet
Yeah.
in as many varying fields. So what happens to it? So what I'm trying to get to is, as a founder, you love your product, you love your problem, you love your technology, but I love the business more. Now, that's the learning. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I've shared my LinkedIn details in the chat. Please feel free to reach out if there's anything. Happy to connect. Raghav, over to you. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Amiya. Thank you so much, Vashishthā. Actually, this was a very interesting session. We had a lot of fun. I think everybody stayed back for this as well. Every month we do this. So if you want to participate in this as a participant, please, go to the startupclub.info. I'm going to send the link in the chat. And I'd also like to inform about our app, Clickin. Clickin is basically our app that we have built to, as a startup club, we have built to accommodate all these connections. Because this whole conversation happened because you discovered Amiya through this network and stuff like that. So we're trying to how do we automate this so that we can facilitate this at a larger scale. That's what Clickin is a product for. So check it out. Go to clickin.com as well. All right. We'll see you again next month. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely speaking to you guys.
Same here. Bye.